Hello and welcome to another episode of Row House Presents. We hope you're all doing well as we, continue through this, but we're here with another week to bring you some more recommendations on what's out there and what's streaming. Today we will be talking about Stagecoach, The Brothers Bloom, A Shot in the Dark, and finally Porno. I'm Delana Obermeyer. I run the film club here at Row House.
I'm Brian Mendelson. I'm the owner of Row House Cinema.
And we are so happy to be joined today by a big fan of Row House / president of our Row House Film Club Book Club, and probably more importantly, the co-owner of the Black Cat Market here in Lawrenceville, and wearer of many other hats, Indigo Beloke. I like how I'm gesturing as if she's right there, but
virtual
exactly,
hello.
Exactly right. Hi, Indigo. Thanks so much for being here with us.
Hi, I'm happy to be here. Love Row House so much, so happy to help however I can.
So Stagecoach is from 1939, directed by John Ford. This is the movie that made John Wayne famous. This is a movie that many people consider one of the all-time greats. It's on every top 10 list. It is the movie that revitalized the Western. It's essentially a bunch of random people from a town all get together in a stagecoach to go from one end of Arizona to another end of New Mexico, and action ensues. Let's watch some clips from the film.
Ain't I seen you someplace before, man?
No, you haven't.
I wish I had, though.
If there's ever anything I can do for... Oh, I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just a movie that's some people get in a stagecoach and go somewhere.
Yeah, this was the first time I'd ever seen it. I called my mom because she's a big fan of Westerns, as is my stepdad. And she was like, oh, yes. And I was like, I know. And I feel dumb for not having seen it yet. And also, I didn't realize how hot John Wayne is until now. But yeah, it was so great. But one of the people in the stagecoach is essentially a sex worker. And so one of the things I really enjoyed about the movie was that, like, it kind of starts off that the people that are in the stagecoach are like, ugh, we have to be in the stagecoach with her. They're, like, weird about, like, her eating with them and things like that. And then by the end of the movie, like, they're all very kind to her and, like, very grateful. Like, when they part ways, they're like, look me up if you need anything, type of thing. And I really liked that because they, like, gave her a lot of agency and they made her a very, like, awesome character that the other characters value, which I think was pretty ahead of its time, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I feel like it was stuff like that where, like, certain themes felt ahead of its time, or even just, like, seeing the sort of, like, development of these archetypal, like, characters that we see in, like, so many, like, like so many movies where, like, a random, cast of misfits are thrown together. Like, I feel like this movie really showed, like, the development of, like, those kind of types, and within that, some of those types were women, which for a Western, let alone a Western in 1939, I was surprised at how developed its women characters were. But I'll say, like, in terms of just, like, the plot, or just, like, I was just, it's like, I definitely was watching this out of, like, historical interest and, like, the characters, I'd say. And yeah, like, John Wayne, seeing him so young was insane, because yeah, I just think of 50s John Wayne and how much I hate him, and, like,
yeah. I try to have such an open mind going into this movie, but every time I get over, like, all right, this movie's going to have inherent biases, every time I try to get over that hump, that movie just brings me right back to hating it. I couldn't stand this movie. I was cringing almost the entire thing. And there was one point where I'm like, all right, I gotta like things about this. And I'm like, all right, I love the cinematography. I love the stunts. Like the stunts were like incredible, watching these old west jumping horses and all that kind of stuff. They were real acts, and I thought that was cool. The whole plot was like, these evil savages are going to kill us, and let's just machine them gun down. And
that's like all westerns back then.
I mean, it's just crazy because like watching the scenes of them being like chased and things like that, I just like also can't help but think to myself, well, I mean, you know, technically you're on their land and also you killed a lot of them first. So like maybe also it's their right to chase you away.
I think it's important to watch films that are like this and kind of confront how this was like the most mainstream Hollywood, you know, still one of the most. But I mean, you know, it's on the top of like AFI's top 100, which is like
AFI's top 10.
Is it? Okay, yeah.
I didn't see. I guess I just didn't understand, other than the cinematography, like how beautiful it was. Like I didn't understand like what the magic of the film was.
Yeah.
I missed it.
So I think that there's like an overinflated view of the film, maybe just because it was John Wayne's breakout, but then also, you know, I guess if it kicked off like westerns, it's important. So maybe it's important more than it is good, if that makes sense. Maybe that's the magic of it.
So would you recommend this?
I mean, I would, like, if you're like a hardcore western person and you somehow haven't seen this one.
I don't know. I would recommend it to a specific kind of person, because I don't think that it's something that like I don't think that I need to watch it again. And I'm like, okay, one and done. And I don't know if it's something that any people in like my circle would really be interested in. Yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily recommend it, but I watched it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I couldn't recommend it either. I think that the characters were fine, and some of them are okay. Some of them I liked, some of them I didn't. And the plot was cringeworthy, and the action sequences were good. Probably the best part of the movie. But cinematography was wonderful.
Yeah, like John Ford's a good director. Like I can come out of that movie saying that for sure. Like,
yeah. Stagecoach is available on Amazon Prime, Hoopla, Criterion Channel, or Canada.
So the next one we're going to talk about is Brothers Bloom. It's a story of two brothers who are con men and have been since they were kids, and it's about them growing up and still being con men, but obviously they've gotten more elaborate. And then enter a woman. So they're supposed to be conning this woman, but the one brother ends up falling for her. And then it's just sort of about their misadventures after that. And, you know, like, does he want to give up the con to be in love? And now we're going to watch some clips.
My brother Stephen.
Glad to make your acquaintance. Bloom's told me so much about you. You're the epileptic photographer.
Sort of.
And this is my personal assistant. Yeah! And private masseuse, Mrs. Yingling.
Yingling like the beer.
No.
He gets the scarab. You get the money. Oh, I get the girl. So in the end, everyone gets everything he wants.
Victor! Wow is the word you're looking for. Wow!
You're a genius, Stephen.
I really enjoyed watching this film. It was extremely entertaining. I felt like this was the most Wes Anderson movie that wasn't made by Wes Anderson I've ever seen. That was the most Winona Ryder starred that didn't star Winona Ryder film. I feel like there's some, you know, interesting plot pieces that, you know, I'm still thinking about, and like I still like, why did they do this? Did they set up the con just so, you know, the brother could fall in love? The movie definitely steered me in directions where I didn't think it was going to go. In some cases, I really liked where it went. In some cases, I wish they went in a different direction. But I appreciated the originality of the film. I really like Rian Johnson as a director. And this was a film that I feel could have been better, but it was still really good. It was almost great.
I kind of miss the time when Adrian Brody could be a leading man.
He's so good.
He's so good. So I love just seeing him again and seeing him and seeing Mark Ruffalo play kind of a gross guy was nice again too. I just miss these types. It actually makes perfect sense, Indigo, that you say that this was one of your favorites and that you chose this just because I know how much you love Big Fish. And to me, this has such a similar kind of spirit to that film. They're both stories about people who love to tell tall tales, basically, and who are ultimately these huge romantics. So despite, I guess, the fact that they're supposed to be sort of bad guys, they end up coming off very whimsical and charming, and you want
to hang out with them.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, it's always been one of my favorites, and I like that you connected it to Big Fish in that way. I think that all of my favorite movies are they include the two main things are storytelling and romance. But yeah, so I just always loved it, and I think that there's so many specific scenes that are so delightful. There's a scene where it goes over Rachel Weisz goes over Rachel's scene where she is showing all of her many talents that she
that is the greatest.
That
was mind-blowing in such a good way.
And felt so appropriate for our quarantine time right now. I was oh, that's all of us right now.
I smiled that entire time.
Yeah.
It's so delightful. And then she just stops, and then he's just I'm in love with this woman. It's so cute and delightful. So, and I feel it's also just a very good quotable movie. I love the idea of a con is a well done con is in the end everyone always gets what they want and everything like that, and I like how they circle back to that a lot.
The scene where she steals the book and gets caught by the police, and the cop just drops her off and they bow to each other, and I think Mark Ruffalo said, what did she say to the cops to make that happen? And they never addressed that ever again. And I think that is perfect for this film, and that kind of shows the style of the entire film, that one scene, and the reason why I like it a lot. It's just it's a good story, makes you use your imagination and makes you think about what's happening.
I like to think so because of all of the interactions he has with his brother, with Mark Ruffalo. Is it's so clear that his brother loves him so much and just wants him to have everything that he would want. And so I feel while it's totally possible that maybe his brother was just looking for a new con, but then he does see her and knows that she would be perfect for his brother. But I feel because once again they have this thing where they come back to where it's the best con is where everyone leaves with what they want, and so I think that he was looking for a way to connect with his brother again because they obviously love each other so much and have this unbreakable bond. And the only way he knew how to reach out to his brother involved conning him. If you only have one mode of operation and you're how can I reconnect with my brother? Well, the only thing I'm good at is conning people. So what if I conned my brother?
It makes me regret Rian Johnson's choices after this.
What do you do after this?
Looper, which is good.
Oh, I like Looper.
Yeah, Looper's good. But I feel he could have gone in a different direction because he went Looper, then Star Wars, and then Knives Out, and so
Rian Johnson.
Rian Johnson.
What were you calling him?
Rian Johnson.
Oh, is it Rian or Ryan? I don't know. It's Rian. No idea.
Kids these days, millennials. I don't know.
The Brothers Bloom is available on Tubi, Hoopla, Vudu, and also YouTube.
Next, we will be talking about A Shot in the Dark, directed by Blake Edwards from 1964, starring Peter Sellers, second film in the original Pink Panther series. There is no Pink Panther in it, but it is Jacques Cousteau being the typical lovable but totally bumbling idiot detective that he is. And as the title would suggest, a shot rang out in the dark at a fancy French chateau, and When the lights came back up, a maid is, holding the smoking gun, and Jacques Cousteau is convinced that the maid is not the murderer. Also chose this movie for its Pittsburgh connection, which is actually Henry Mancini, the amazing score composer, is from Pittsburgh. This one doesn't have the iconic Pink Panther theme, but its theme is also pretty iconic, and you'll definitely recognize it. Yeah, we wanted to honor Henry Mancini with a little pic of his. All right, let's watch some clips.
The night the chauffeur... The night the chauffeur was killed, what was the chauffeur's name?
Miguel.
Miguel, yes.
Yeah, Miguel.
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 Well, this Italian.
Well, he was a Spaniard.
Well, this Spaniard, Mengel.
I laughed out loud so many times while watching this. I have like the humor level of like a 12-year-old boy. So like if anyone trips over anything, I will die. He's so funny. These movies are so funny. This scene where there's a scene where he's like selling balloons illegally and he gets arrested for it. And then there's balloons out of the police car as they're driving away with him. And like, I just like cracked the heck up. Like that kind of stuff. And it's just so funny and like, yeah, totally just laughed the whole time. Loved every minute of it.
Pink Panther movies were also something like watched and loved as a kid. But yeah, didn't really remember. I mean, because that's the thing, you don't remember anything about the plot. That's not what you walk away remembering anything about. I couldn't explain to you right now how, everything was proven and exactly falls together. But along with like the really like kind of dumb, goofy, like immature humor, there's also just like constant like wordplay and throwaway jokes that like I like ended up turning the subtitles on at one point just because it's just one of those movies where every line is a joke. Like every little hit, every like visually, there's so many just like little bits. I feel like you could probably watch this movie like multiple times and still like get like different jokes here and there. Yeah, Peter Sellers is just, I think, one of the most underappreciated like comedians like throughout film. Like, yeah, but the music, the nudist colony.
Oh, that scene was so well done.
It's just like the flamenco dance. Like you just get so many random scenes of like random like niche like kind of like performance type community, and like he's just forced to kind of fit in with all. It's just so ridiculous and 60s.
I worried going into this film because I'm not a fan of slapstick humor and fart jokes and poop jokes, and but this movie has so many levels of humor that I think it appeals to every kind of humor there is. Like I laughed as well. I ignored the slapstick part of it, like him falling into a pool,
at it,
like
though.
whatever. But like the throwaway lines, the gags, like him getting arrested gag, each time they came up with a new funny way and they upped it every time, but then they didn't abuse it. They knew when to stop the gag. Yeah, it was just so good and funny, and like just the atmosphere they created, and I don't know. I enjoyed this movie a lot more than I thought I would.
It's just so enjoyable, and they just don't. Comedies like this aren't made anymore. It's just not a style that exists.
Would you recommend this?
Yes, I really would, because seriously, I was like laughing the entire time. So it really did make me, like how you were asking, I really do kind of want to watch a lot more of them, even if it might potentially be a letdown since this one is supposed to be the best. I just enjoyed it so much that like if I can get that level of laughter on a regular basis, I'm happy to hear that there's more movies of them.
Yeah, well, and yeah, so I'll say I also highly recommend, but yeah, like if I can get more sequences of like those like niche like counterculture like 60s like if he just starts infiltrating other communities and such throughout the other movies, like You know, he finds some beatniks, he finds some hippies, whatever. I don't care. I'll watch any of that. Like.
Our next film is a 2020 release called Porno, which is a movie about some Christians who work at a movie theater who find an underground secret screening room, which harkens to the days when the movie theater used to be a porn theater, and the ghost of the porn theater kind of shows a film that ends up being a satanic cult porn movie that brings this demon to life. A sex demon to life that takes your weaknesses and crushes them. That's a good word choice for that. And horror comedy ensues. So let's watch some clips from that film.
Dude, you're gonna have to give him mouth to mouth.
He's breathing, you cretin. Todd! You okay, man? What happened?
I saw her.
You saw who? Well, who'd you see, Todd?
Her.
Dude, he peed his pants.
Hey, but I don't think it's pee, man. It's not.
What are you talking about?
The woman from the film, she was here. I saw her. Her hooters, man. And everything else.
Yeah, right. The only naked lady you've ever seen is your mom.
My mom's dead, freak.
Prove it!
Who's that?
I'll say right off the bat, this film doesn't really have anything to say, even if it likes to think that it has something to say.
Ouch.
But regardless, that's not why this movie's that's not why I enjoyed this movie. Is this movie trash? Yes. But is it good trash? Yes. And it knows that. That's what it's trying to be. Like, I think it thinks it's smarter trash than it is, but it doesn't need to be smart. That's not why I'm watching it. So I will say I think this was more of a genuine like exploitation film than I've seen like in a while, because that's it. Like that's pretty much like that's what this movie like has to offer, and it does not disappoint on some horrifying images, on some just real gross, just things that made me go, oh my God. Don't go into this looking for a story, I'd say. I thought making them Christian was a little weird and unnecessary, because we're sexually repressed in general. You don't have to make them Christians to do that.
Yeah, I thought the concept was definitely interesting. I think here's the thing. I would have liked it more if it was just a haunted movie theater and they unleashed a normal demon in the basement. It didn't have to be a succubus. It could have just been a normal spooky ass demon, or like the ghost of a serial killer. I was like, oh yes, bring something spooky out. And then they were like, it's a succubus. And I was like, boo. Like,
Point of clarification, what's a succubus?
Oh, as the resident demonologist of this chat, a succubus is a sex demon.
I think it was trying to poke fun at Christianity. I think each of the kids represented a different sect of Christianity and different.
Oh.
I would guess that whoever wrote this had grew up in that atmosphere and wanted to say something about that. I think it was poorly written. I think you could have taken that same plot and not known. I agree with you guys. I didn't want to know anything about the characters.
Yeah.
And let the demon reveal their characters. That would have been a better way of handling that.
Well, and I just didn't care about I wasn't watching it for the characters. I don't care about them being fleshed out. I care about them being fleshed out another way, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like this movie at all. It's not my kind of movie.
I know.
But I didn't care about the characters. The body horror, not my thing.
Yeah.
Just the plot wasn't there. The resolution was boring.
The resolution was the ending of this movie is atrocious.
Yeah. The social commentary was not there.
Yeah.
I found very little to like about this film. Would you recommend this film?
No. Yeah, I just kept watching it being like, I wish that I was watching Todd and the Book of Pure Evil instead.
Yeah, I couldn't recommend this movie. It's just not my thing. And 80s style horror, comedy, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend literally certain shots of this movie, but not the movie overall. So if you can find, like if you're a big gore fan and you ever like, I don't know what to watch and you want to watch something new, you.
All right, so if you want to see some great body horror scenes, watch this film. If not, sure.
Just wait till it goes on Shudder. I don't know.
But right now, it's at Row House Online. Support Row House Cinema by watching these movies.
Yes, 100. Oh my God, the first Twilight movie is better than any of the Harry Potter movies. I would rather watch the.
You're on
first
camera.
Twilight movie.
You know you're being filmed right now.
I don't care.